What's doing, everybody? Welcome to First Class Fatherhood. I'm Alec Lace, and before I hit you with today's interview, make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel and hit the link in the description so you can listen to all of the interviews I've done with so many tremendous dads, including Dana White, Deion Sanders, Tony Hawk, and so many others. Now let's get going with today's interview. Joining me now, First Class Father, Frosty Rucker. Welcome to First Class Fatherhood.
Hey, how you doing, man? Thanks for having me, Alec.
All right, let's start here. How many kids do you have, and how old are they?
I have one son, and he's 2.5.
Yeah, very cool. Did you guys do like a gender reveal to find out what you were having, or did you wait all the way to the end to find out?
Well, uniquely, we didn't do that. I'm not a sucker for surprises, so we got an email, and I was like, we got to open it, right? But we kind of had a unique way of telling our parents and whatnot. It was around Halloween when we got the notice, and we put a bigger pumpkin for myself, a medium-sized pumpkin for her, and then a little small one. And they didn't really get it until they kept looking at it like, why is there 3, right? And so they finally caught on to it, and it was a special moment.
Very cool. If you could, Frosty, please just take a minute here to hit my listeners with a little bit about your background and what you do.
Hey, guys. I'm Frosty Rucker. I'm a 13-year veteran in the NFL. I just retired. I come from Southern California, grew up in Orange County, California, went to University of Southern Cal, won 2 national championships there, played in 3, sociology, bachelor degree, and just an awesome dad.
Yeah, very cool. You had all these experiences playing for the national championship, playing in the NFL. How did the experience of becoming a father kind of change your perspective on life?
I mean, it outweighed everything. It's the first time I could say it's the most selfless thing that, situation you can get in, and to know the real responsibility. It's not just about yourself anymore. And I took it on just like I do with everything else, very passionately. And I enjoy being a father. It's the best blessing and the biggest gift.
Yeah, awesome, Frosty. What are some of the top values that you're hoping to instill into your son?
Just how to communicate with himself, don't hold things in, how to be trustworthy and honest. I believe in looking people in their eye. I'm doing this recording from my iPad, so I'm like looking at you and looking at it, so it's a little different. But just to own his words and to be able to provide, to be able to be sensitive. There's a number of things that I want to install in him, but just to be himself is the main important thing.
Yeah, well said. One of the most important reasons why I do this podcast, Frosty, is just because right now we got a fatherless crisis going on in our country. Way too many kids are growing up without a father or a father figure in their life, and I think it's having a devastating result on our society. So I think it's important to hear the message about just how awesome it can be if people would, embrace it and give it a chance here. So I love what you had to say there.
Yes, sir.
And what about, I know he's young yet here, but what type of disciplinarian are you here, Frosty, as a father? Are you a spanker, a timeout guy? How do you kind of handle discipline so far?
Usually the only thing he gets into is toys, and he doesn't share very well, as something that I've noticed. So I usually pull him aside, and I'm not a spanker. I'm more of a communicator, and I talk to him through the things, and I encourage him to use his words and tell me what's going on and why he feels a certain way. And I think I get the best feedback from that, because I explain to him, you got a whole bunch of toys, so let's not get hung up on just this one. And he has little buddy Tyson that they always get into it, those little rascals. They're about the same age. And, I mean, they'll sit there and fight over one truck when you turn around and there's 100 of them right behind them. So I really try to explain to him that to not get hung up on just one item. And, you got other toys, and let him play. He's a little younger than you. To be a leader, you got to, do certain things that aren't comfortable. And, sometimes that means giving up a toy that you really want to play with for the better good of the day. And, he tends to listen. He's getting a little older now each day, and he resists a little bit because for some reason, it's something about those toys, if he can't get to it and someone else can, it could disrupt everything. But, he's listening to me, and hopefully as the time prevails and our relationship builds and grows, he'll really, truly understand the value of what I'm saying.
Yeah, good stuff, Rusty. And did having a child and the thought of starting a family, did that weigh into you retiring from the NFL, or was the time right for you?
I just felt like the time was right. I had 13 great years in the NFL. Saying great just because the opportunity I had. You know, obviously there's trials and tribulations that come with playing NFL, injuries and whatnot. But for me personally, being a father, finally at that stage in my life, he meant way too much to me to risk going away for spring ball or risk playing another season and getting hurt. Then I can't, play with him when the season's over and have to recover from a surgery. So I feel like I got out at the right time, and I don't look back at that decision at all.
Yeah, very cool. And you mentioned their injuries. Obviously, playing in the NFL, I mean, a high-risk career, to do it for 13 years is a pretty awesome career to have. But, you have a son here now, and a lot of parents struggle with the concept of whether or not they should let their children play contact football, tackle football right now, especially because of everything that's been overblown or everything that's been underblown about the concussions and what the dangers are. How do you feel about young kids playing contact football? What do you think is a good age for them to start?
Well, first and foremost, I'd like to say football has done a number of great things for me as far as not only financially, but, football has been there to teach me discipline, accountability, teamwork, and all those facets that I take on into life now. I currently start in the flag football league because I do believe that even though I started with tackle at the age of 7, fundamentally knowing your body means more. Those injuries are real. Concussions are real. Ankle injuries, hamstrings, ACLs, all those things are real. And I think taking the contact out of it, to start it off with, it means a lot, and they can catch up later. I love my youth football sports that I grew up in. I donate and I share resources with them still to this day, and I will, even with a flag football league opening up of my own. But I do believe there's an alternative way at everything, and I believe to keep the game of football alive, we should probably scale back a little bit as the kids are young and wait till they develop a little bit more before we put pads on them.
Yeah, I agree with you there, Frosty. I've done it with I think the NFL plays 60 leagues. The flag football leagues are just phenomenal. I wish they had them when I was a kid because, we played a lot of, street ball, tackle football together. And it's like kids would get hurt. I mean, we had some brutal, tackles and stuff going on. And it's like if we had something like that, I think it's great. Like you said, they can teach the fundamentals of the game without that high risk of the injury. So I think it's awesome that they have that option today.
Absolutely.
And what about as far as your bedtime routine now with your son here, Frosty? Are you a lullaby guy here, a storyteller? How do you kind of handle what's your bedtime routine look like?
Well, we're trying to shut him down around 7:30, 8 o'clock at night right now. It seems to work just because of the routine we're on. But I start with bath time. I'll start with dinner, and dinner turns into bath time. I do let him watch a little Disney, whatever the movie is going to be. Right now it's Cars. It's been airplanes. He likes Legos. He likes PJ Masks. So he gets to watch a show while he eats. At first I thought it was going to distract him, but it's like, a little time for him to unwind and watch his favorite show. And then so we eat dinner, and then I take him from dinner straight to bath time because he's usually a mess, full of sauces and all the good stuff. And so from there we go to bath time, and he gets a good 30, 40 minutes there. He loves it. And that's truly the wind down for him because by the time he comes out of bath time, the lights are dimmer, certain lights are off, the TV's off, and, we read a book, we say a prayer, and we go to bed. And he's been on that schedule, and he loves it. He adapted to it right away because that's all he knows. So I try not to take him off that. He does adjust, when it's not that or we're traveling or whatnot. But other than that, I keep that routine pretty well, and we read different books, and he loves to read, and he loves hearing Daddy's voice and getting tucked in and say his prayers. That's the routine.
Yeah, very cool. And I think, like we said there, you can put on his favorite show. I think we have such an advantage today with the technology that we can actually, select what show that they want. It's their favorite one. We don't have to wait for it to come on. And one of the good things, too, is like, we get the opportunity to share with our kids the cartoons or the shows that we enjoyed growing up. Like, I'll have my kids, they can still watch the old Bugs Bunnies or a Thundercats episode, and I can show them kind of like what I used to watch
Absolutely.
growing up, you know?
Absolutely. See, my little guy, he thinks he's like a ninja right now. So I bought these plastic swords. Maybe I shouldn't be telling everyone what we did, but we sword fight all the time. So the other day we sat down and we got to watch Ninja Turtles 1. And that was huge, you know, to see these turtles and Master Splinter. They're eating pizza and they're coming out of a tunnel. And that's something I enjoyed, you know, as a kid. And then being able to see his face like, oh my God, you know, watching them have their fighting scenes and then him trying to interact with me and jump off a couch or something. It's funny, you know, but again, with this Disney Plus stuff that they have, we can go back and watch the newer Lion King or the old one. There's Little Mermaid, there's Finding Dory. I mean, everything's on there. So the technology helps. I enjoy being a dad, you know, just watching his eyes light up.
Yeah, it's definitely a unique opportunity here to share so much, like, and connect and bond in that way with our kids, like opportunities that our parents didn't have because it was impossible to do it back then. But I think it's definitely an advantage. But obviously right now, throughout the country, well, throughout the whole world right now, we're in the middle of this pandemic with the coronavirus. How has that affected you, and what are you guys doing out there as far as the quarantine and all that stuff?
We're trying to stay as safe as possible, as clean as possible, as sanitary as possible, and have as much fun as we can. I know a lot of people are out there have to, you know, rearrange I know a lot of people out there got to get a new schedule as for homeschooling, whatnot. Me and Lincoln aren't quite there yet, but we do we read our books, we do our ABCs. He enjoys all that stuff anyways. And the hardest part is not being able to take him outside and play. But, you know, we live in the East Coast half the time, so the weather isn't always in our favor. So he gets used to that also too. So as long as you just wipe everything down, keep everything sanitary, he's always washing his hands, and you know he's always done that. So that's a good thing. I've taught him that since he's been young. We're always got to wash our hands because you know kids will put anything in their mouths with toys and whatnot. So it hasn't been too bad, you know. Obviously, as parents, we know, you know, the epidemic that's going on out there and how serious it is. But, you know, him being that age, he doesn't know. As long as we keep it fun and keep his belly full and the game's playing and, you know, keeping him happy, it hasn't been that bad of a ordeal for us.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, I've got 4 kids myself, and I'm like all the other parents. Like I've added a homeschool teacher to my resume here over the last few days, so it's been quite interesting the way we've all had to adapt all this. It's kind of nuts.
I bet, man. Well, hats off to you for doing that, you know, because you do have to switch it up, and now you know if those teachers were lying about those progress reports or not.
Yeah, it's an adjustment for sure. Well, Frosty, I mean, you've had such a successful career here playing football. That's behind you now. What kind of goals or plans do you have here for yourself for the future?
Well, like I said, I'm starting a flag football league in Southern California. It's the league flag football. It's my first real venture outside of football that I'm concentrating on and putting all my efforts in. I'm gonna do some consulting, hopefully with the NFL and certain teams, or with my alma mater, USC. And that's about it. You know, I want to make sure I free the time. I played so long that now I can afford the time to be around and be dad, you know, and also be able to do some of the things that I do love and I'm passionate about. And that's always being around the game of football. So I'm going to continue to do that. I'm not in a rush to get a 9-to-5 and be at an office all day. Like I said, I played a lengthy career in the NFL that, you know, that takes up a lot of time. So I'm focused on family right now.
Yeah, good stuff, Frosty. Last thing I want to hit you with here, I love to ask all the dads that I get on the podcast, what type of advice do you have for the new dad or for that about-to-be father who's out there listening?
Be yourself and be present and show up. There's a lot of, you know, like we said, we're doing this podcast now for a lot of people that are absentee dads, and there's a lot of reasons why they're absentee. And it's not just always your fault, and it's with the situation you may get put in. But you got to get to those hurdles and show up. Your kids need you, sons and daughters, they need you. They need to feel your strength. They need to feel your courage. They need to hear your voice. They need to know your smell. They need to be around you. And if you show up and you're a present father, that can go a long way. So I encourage you just to be yourself, be present and show up.
Yeah, very well said. I love the message. This has been an honor for me. I got to say, Frosty Rucker, you're a first-class father all the way, and thank you so much for giving me a few minutes of your time here on First Class Fatherhood.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, and good luck to all those new fathers and those old fathers. Stay encouraged and stay blessed and do your part.